Hello Libra, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of July 2022. This reading will be for Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So by all means, if you know your three major placements, feel free to listen to any and all of the videos that apply, as each one of them may resonate differently for you. And also do keep in mind these readings are general in nature. They're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals. So not necessarily everything that comes through will make sense for you. Definitely take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that might make sense to your specific situation, whatever that might connect to in your personal life. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and then you can simply leave the rest. So Libra, I hope you're doing well. I hope June was good to you. Very excited to take a look at the month of July and see what we might have in store for you. So as always, I've got your oracle card. We will pull some tarot, get you some affirmations and an oracle to finish everything up. But we will start off the reading by jumping right into the channeled energetic impressions and channeled messages, which I took time to connect with before I got your card out. So we'll go ahead and get right into that. So it was kind of interesting, Libra. The energy that I was picking up on as I was preparing for your reading, it was like very busy mentally. So like lots of thoughts, and it's like, so thoughts like things that need to be done, different concepts, different ideas, beliefs. And it's just kind of like, I get this sense that your mind might be a little bit overactive. There might be a little bit of like getting caught up in your thoughts, maybe over analysis, maybe even being really distracted by having a lot of stuff going through your mind all the time, and that might be kind of taking you away from whatever you're doing. And I kind of got the sense that the thoughts or perceptions or the things that you've kind of got flowing through your mind might actually be limiting your experience, in a sense of like, it might be just kind of causing you to put a lot of pressure on yourself, or, you know, put pressure on yourself to have everything in order and figure everything out. And you might really take a lot of your thoughts for reality, and for truth, even if they're not necessarily reflective of what feels right or best to you. So there might need to just be some awareness of like what your mind is doing. It might be a little busy, and you might kind of struggle with that and need to kind of take some time to tune out a little bit and tune into what you're feeling. Maybe do some meditation. The thing, and like the other thing is, with this kind of like constant thinking and constant stream of thoughts, there is also a sense of almost being like a little bit impatient, because it's like you've got so many ideas and so many things, and everything seems so kind of like simple or clear in your mind that it's almost like not necessarily honoring the process of how things unfold energetically, how things happen like in the material world, and maybe just kind of like, it's almost like wanting to just have your thoughts be reality and have things transform immediately, rather than kind of connecting with the way that things are right now. I don't know if that makes sense. And I got a lot to do with like your image, in terms of like how you present yourself, how you are perceived by others. And I got the sense that it's like that image that you put out there might be highly motivated by your thoughts, and it could be a lot of like strategy and analysis, and it's like, well, how is this going to be received? How are people going to view this? What's going to keep this person happy? What does this person want to see from me? So it's like you might be, you know, trying to make things easier for yourself, but because there's so much thought going on there might be a little bit too much strategy and analysis, and it might be kind of taking you away from that natural authenticity that, you know, is your real strength, and will really allow you to kind of like impact people and situations on a really beneficial, kind of like deeper level. So it's kind of like, are you motivated mostly by your thoughts of like what is best, or by like your feelings and your sense of like authenticity and what feels right to you? So yeah, you might have to there might be a disconnect between what's going on the inside and what's being displayed on the outside. particularly if you do have a lot of thoughts going on in your mind and you're trying to figure things out, but like to everybody else, it seems like you're calm and composed and very, very clear. So, yeah, it's just keeping in mind like how you present yourself, if you're being authentic and honest. And I'm not saying like in a deceptive way, but it's more like allowing yourself the opportunity to take a little bit of that pressure off and not have that need for like perfection or coming across like you've got it all figured out and you've got your shit together all the time. So yeah, we'll get into your channeled messages. The first one that came through was fighting reality. And so I got the sense of like, maybe there's something that you're not quite satisfied with, maybe something that's uncomfortable, maybe something that for whatever reason you've got some kind of resistance to. And it's like trying to change it or to resist it or to find a way around it or to find a way to make it to your liking, rather than just accepting what the situation is and how that makes you feel and allowing yourself to kind of sit with that reality, to sit with that feeling and to see what comes as a result and to kind of let it pass. So it's like, maybe life situations, maybe experiences, maybe you're trying to change them and control them like to your liking rather than just accepting that perhaps whatever discomfort or resistance you're experiencing, you're meant to experience for your own growth and for your own awareness. And perhaps by sitting in that experience and just experiencing that discomfort, perhaps you'll move through it more quickly than if you were to try and like resist it or transform it into something else, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's paying attention to like if you're resisting something, if you're trying to change something and why and what that might be connected to. And perhaps there might be some kind of lesson or something looking to be illuminated for you underneath that. The next message that came through was crap sandwich. So it's the idea of like, I don't know, like being served a shit sandwich. And it's like sometimes situations are just shitty, sometimes they're just not ideal, sometimes they're not to your liking, and sometimes there isn't a whole lot that you can do about it. Obviously, like anything that you can do to make a situation easier on yourself, and not in an avoidant way where you're trying to save yourself like struggle or learning the lessons, but like not resisting it or not making it more difficult than it needs to be. Like that's really all we can do. That's all that's within our control. But sometimes we just kind of have to shut up and eat the crap sandwich, right? And we can't necessarily tie up our energy and our emotions in fighting it or feeling sorry for ourselves, because that just kind of prolongs it. It makes it a bigger deal than it needs to be. So it's kind of the situation. It's like maybe something is not ideal, something is unavoidable, and it's like, everybody has those times in life, and maybe you're going through that right now, or someone close to you is going through that, and it's just like you just got to deal with it and accept that there's not necessarily anything that you can do to make a shit sandwich more palatable. It's just recognizing that it is what it is. It's not going to be pretty or fun, but you can deal with it, and once you deal with it, it's done. Like, I don't know, that's just hilarious to me. The next message that came through was I'm not sure. So this is like the thing that really came through for me is like anything that you're not sure about, that maybe you're lacking clarity on, anything that doesn't quite feel aligned or isn't sitting right with you. It could be like in terms of your goals, your dreams, what you need to be happy or to feel fulfilled, perhaps something in your circumstance that has changed. And so that's kind of demanding a change from you, or an adjustment in terms of your priorities or what works for you. So it's being aware of whatever it is that you're not quite sure of, whatever it is that you're kind of working your way through or you're trying to gain clarity on, and recognizing like, do you accept that as a part of yourself, and do you allow yourself to share that with other people? Like when you're in that place of unknown or being unsure, are there people that you can talk to about feeling that way if you're a little bit lost? Are there people that you can look to for support or encouragement? Do you allow people to see that side of you that isn't completely prepared and clear and well put together? Because it's recognizing that like, it's okay not to know. And, we are constantly learning and growing and changing, and we are consistently in an energy of like perpetual development, right? And so it's like we can't have everything figured out all the time. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to know exactly what to do and how to do it and have everything kind of neatly premeditated. It's like sometimes we just are struggling to do the best that we can, and that's just part of life. Like, we're not perfect and we don't need to be. And sometimes we don't realize that that really is the truth until we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and share those experiences with other people, and we realize that other people feel the same way. And like, there can be a pressure to look like you have your shit together all the time, but people don't expect that of you. And in fact, it can be like a really endearing and connecting, like bonding moment or opportunity for people to just kind of like drop that pressure to seem like everything makes sense, and just to kind of admit when maybe you're feeling a little bit in the dark and perhaps you need that support, or maybe someone has a perspective to share with you that can help you kind of refocus. So it's about being willing to ask for support, because you don't always have to have the answer. You don't always have to figure it out on your own. The next thing that came through was enticing offer. So it's like, this could be an offer. It could be a trip. It could be a job, a friendship, a relationship, some kind of opportunity. But so the idea of it being an enticing offer, it's something that it might very well align with what you want. It might feel exciting. It might feel promising. But the idea of the word enticing is, it's like there's also a sense of like temptation. So it's like maybe there's a little bit of danger in that offer, or considering that. Maybe there's a bit of discomfort. Maybe there's sacrifice needed. So it's kind of like there's something that's really enticing and something that really draws you into considering whatever that opportunity or that offer is. But there's also something that's causing you to feel a little bit fearful or hold back, or maybe consider that this isn't something that you're able to do. And so I would say, if there is some kind of offer, it's like, if it feels tempting to you, is it really like illicit or wrong? Is it really negative? Is it really hurtful? Or is it just that the idea of moving in that direction makes you feel bad because of the way you've been programmed to believe, right? Or because of the concepts that you hold. So for example, if it's a job, if you have an enticing job offer, and you're like, wow, this is what I want to do, and it'd be really interesting, and it'd be an exciting new environment, and I would make more money or whatever, but I don't know if I would like it. I have a job that I know that I'm good in, and it's stable, so I could be sacrificing that. Or it could be like, well, the people that I work with rely on me and they expected me to be here for a long time, or I've only been here for like X amount of time, and it wouldn't really look good on me to like move to another job so quickly. So it's kind of like, there could be situations that are perfectly beneficial and that actually really align with what you're looking for in life, and you have to be willing to say yes. And sometimes that requires taking a little bit of a leap of faith, right? So it's like, it's knowing when something aligns and something excites you enough to kind of step out of that comfort zone and those restrictions you put on yourself. And like, when it comes down to stuff like that, it's like, are you worried about what people will think of you, or are you worried about what's best for you? Because staying in a position, for example, using this job analogy, staying in a position that is safe and familiar and not taking an opportunity that perhaps is exciting to you, it might feel like that's what you have to do, but it could very well end up backfiring on you, because if you're staying because you're afraid that people will judge you, or you feel like you're needed, then it's like you're not necessarily honoring what's most important to you. And then there's that thing that it's like you kind of dishonored yourself, you've given up on yourself. And so your reason for staying is outside of yourself, which means that you're never going to be fulfilled, right? It's not going to be a viable long-term solution for you. Whereas the discomfort of maybe upsetting people or having people, sad to see you go, yeah, that might be a temporary discomfort, but it might pay off in the long run because it could open up some major doors for you or take you in a direction where you have the opportunity to be happier. So I don't know. Interesting. And the last message that came through for you was shepherded away. And so it's the idea of like being guided away from a bad or dangerous situation, or guided to safety, or guided in a direction that's going to be more beneficial to you. And it's the idea of like that guidance coming somewhere from outside of yourself. So it's kind of like a protective energy for your best interest. And it could come from an outside source in a tangible way, like in the form of another person, or in an intangible way in terms of like, you know, your intuition or a gut feeling, or, you know, even just a moment of synchronicity or seeming coincidence, right? So, and the interesting thing is, it's like shepherded away. I'm not religious by any means, but there's always kind of like a divine aspect to that, because it's kind of like, you know, whether you want to think about it as God or the universe or just energies, whatever, it's kind of like we're the sheep being guided, right? Being protected. And so it's almost like, I did get this sense that there's almost like a more spiritual kind of aspect to it. So there might be situations where something happens in such a way that it kind of prevents you from either making a mistake or engaging in something that would potentially be detrimental to you, or perhaps getting a gut feeling about what's best for you versus what isn't. So yeah, your intuition could be speaking to you. Situations could be unfolding in such a way that it's kind of like, you know, that you're being protected, and you might have the opportunity to realize that in the moment or shortly thereafter, or it might be like after the fact when you see how things unfold, you're like, wow, it's a good thing that didn't work out for me, or it's a good thing that I didn't decide to take, you know, this offer or this route to work, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, something to keep in mind at least. We'll get into your oracle card. So you have Unfinished Symphony, which is 10, which is a card of endings. All right. And so being that this is a card of endings, this month is going to be a really, really good time for you to focus on anything that you've got kind of in progress, in process, right? Like it could be a project, a concept, an idea, something that you've been working on, something that you're intending to complete, or others are expecting you to complete, or, you know, even anything that's just kind of that you've had on the go for quite some time and perhaps just needs a little bit more time and energy to tie it up, to close it and to finish it, so that it's not another item on your list, right? So you could have perhaps the mental kind of clutter and like overactivity that I was picking up on. It could be that you do have a lot going on and a lot of thoughts and a lot of priorities and tasks and things like that. So it's recognizing that the more projects we have on the go, the more things that are kind of like in our awareness, the more cluttered our mind becomes. And that can make it really difficult to focus on the task at hand. It can result in overwhelm. It can create a lot of like mental and energetic clutter, which in turn causes more things to pile up because we become less efficient at kind of like crossing items off the list. And so I would say if you've got a lot on the go, like in terms of priorities, obviously the most pressing priorities and the things that really absolutely require your attention first and foremost, like put those at the top of your list. But when it comes to that like next tier in terms of priorities, you might want to consider anything that's nearly finished, anything that's been going on for a long time, anything that's been hanging over your head for quite some time, that like it might just take a little bit of time and effort to just buckle down and get it finished so that it's off your plate and you don't have to think about it anymore. Because the more of that energy that you can kind of close out, the more projects, ideas, concepts, the more things that you can kind of like finish, the better off you'll be, because it's kind of like it's not just checking tasks off your list, but it's kind of freeing up energy in a more long-term sense so that you have more time, more energy, and more focus to complete things. Because it's also recognizing that anything that you have that's unfinished and that's ongoing, as long as it's unfinished, it's going to be clutter. Even if it's something that you give up on, right? It'll still remain in the back of your mind. And if you don't if you don't finish it per se, then you have to do something to allow yourself to release it, right? And to get that closure so that you can move on from it, because otherwise it just kind of sticks with you. And it can be like an energetic drain. It can be a stress or a source of anxiety. And the other thing is that when it comes to stuff that you have to take care of or stuff that you have to get done, sometimes even in the grander scheme of life, it can be like cycles that we're working through, and it's connected to lessons that we're meant to learn or skills that we're meant to master. And the thing is, if we've spent X amount of time in this cycle or working on this project or learning this lesson, and we continuously put off kind of doing what we need to do to finish that up and to integrate it, close the door on it, and just, learn that lesson, master that skill, and move on, then not only are we expending more energy on a daily basis trying to exist in a space where we've got a whole bunch of unfinished stuff hanging over us, but also all of that energy that we have exerted, if we do decide to procrastinate or to give up on it, it's almost like we're not honoring ourselves, because it's basically saying like, oh yeah, I put all this time and effort and energy into it, and I'm willing not to see any result, right? So it's recognizing that even if it's something that's uncomfortable or something that you feel kind of avoidant of, it might just be best to kind of put your head down, like nose to the grindstone, and do whatever you need to do to just get that off your plate. And you don't have to be deeply invested in it. It might just be like, just get it done for the sake of doing it, and giving yourself that that gift of one less thing hanging over you. Because then it's like recognizing that, that time and effort, you deserve to benefit from it. And not only to benefit from it, but you deserve to walk away with that experience, that skill, that knowledge, to have leveled up as a result of your efforts, and then to be willing to welcome, something new in, a new lesson, a new experience, right? And not just kind of perpetually stagnating in a bunch of old stuff. So yeah, whatever it is. And this can also be recognizing the ways that you may procrastinate or the discomfort that you may have. And this guidebook actually says that procrastination is a form of self-sabotage. So procrastination quite often doesn't have anything to do with the task itself, even if a task is not particularly enjoyable. It has a lot more to do with ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, the parts of ourselves that maybe are difficult to manage or to overcome. It might be just lessons that are particularly hard to learn. But it's recognizing that procrastination, it gives us the illusion of avoiding that lesson or avoiding that discomfort, but all it kind of does is just tie up our energy. It actually prolongs it and causes us to experience more, because we're not willing to allow it to end. And so by not being willing to allow it to end and not tying it up, we just kind of experience it indefinitely, which makes it a lot more difficult for us to do anything else, right? Or to move forward. So you have to tie up those loose ends and close those doors in order to move in a direction that's new. So it's like you can't skip the ending and jump right into the new beginning, because even if you have a new beginning or opportunities for new things to kind of start materializing, if you are caught up in old energy and you've got all this stuff hanging around, you're not going to be able to embrace the new, and that old is still going to be calling for your attention before you can really, move forward, I suppose. Okay, so I'm trying to pull less cards because I'm trying to make the readings a little bit shorter, with the hopes that if I can perhaps do like a mid-month check-in for you guys. But so far I've been pulling less cards and still talking for a long time. So it just kind of affirms to me that my readings are just long, and there seems to be like X amount of information that needs to come through. So your first card, you've got the 9 of Pentacles, and your second card is the Wheel. The 9 of Pentacles is clarified by the Page of Swords. The Wheel is clarified by the Ace of Wands. And then at the bottom of the decks, we have Queen of Swords and Queen of Cups. Interesting. Okay, cool. So this position represents your kind of challenge, your blocks, anything that might be blocking you from kind of moving in the direction of your highest good. And this position represents the energy that's needed to help you kind of overcome that obstacle, clear that blocked energy, and kind of get into alignment for yourself. And then the bottom of the deck is like the underlying energy. So immediately, this almost, it makes sense in a way, because the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups, they are the same rank, the same level of experience. They have the same basic kind of qualities and skills, but different areas of expertise. And it's funny because one is like in the domain of thought and strategy, logic, communication, fairness, balance, truth, belief, right? It's a very mental energy. This is Libra energy. It's air energy. And then the Queen of Cups, which is almost the opposite of that. It's emotions, love, joy, connection, intuition. It can be a connection to the subconscious, a more spiritual, emotional experience of life. Yeah, so this one is connected to our emotions and how our emotions inform our life experiences and decisions. And then this one is like how our thoughts do. And they're both feminine energies. And the funny thing is seeing them show up side by side here. It's almost, I almost immediately got the impression of like dueling. So it might be like a duel, like the fighting between the heart and the head. Or thinking like one is better than the other, one's more powerful than the other, one is more respectable than the other. So there could be a lot of ideas about what it means to be a logical, strategic, smart person and what it means to be an emotional person. And perhaps there are some overly inflated positive or negative connotations with each that you're maybe struggling with. And the thing is that, so we've got Swords and Cups. So Pentacles and Wands are the other two suits, and they all represent different energies. And the fact is that we are multi-dimensional, multifaceted beings. We're not meant to exist just in logic or just in emotion or just in the material world or just in inspiration and excitement and creativity, right? It's like we have all of those energies as part of us. We have all of those skills. And what we're meant to do is to bring that into balance for ourselves. And there's no one way to do that because everyone is different. Everyone is driven by different things. And the balance between all of these energies and skills is going to look different for each and every individual based on who they are, what they want, what they're trying to accomplish. And the way to bring those energies into balance will be different for everyone. So it's recognizing like there's no one right way to do anything. And perhaps that is part of this overthinking, right? Like, yeah. So I kind of get the sense that maybe you're aware of this. Maybe you have a lot of emotions that you try to think your way out of, or you try to rationalize. Maybe you recognize the emotions, but you downplay them. Maybe you're trying to connect more with them and give them a little bit more space. I don't know. That could be anything, however you relate to that. But it's kind of like these two energies are fighting for your attention and fighting almost to be balanced out because they're mirroring each other here. So I would say that whatever area you're most comfortable operating in, whether it's like your mind or your emotions, It's recognizing that inevitably one impacts the other and vice versa. So any problem that you run into with one is going to be reflected in the other. Anytime that you're downplaying or trying to shut off from one, that is going to be reflected in the area that you perceive to be your strength. So whether you like it or not, the areas that you maybe downplay or that are not your strong suit are going to be impacting you. So you might as well bring your awareness to it and figure out how to incorporate that into your day-to-day. Because that'll leave you feeling empowered, and it's a part of you, so that'll bring you further into your own authenticity as well. So your challenge for this month is actually like independence and stability, right? This is like the independent woman card, right? So she's worked hard, she's stable, she's got like a certain level of material abundance, or she's got the skills and the means and the work ethic to connect with and create abundance. She's not looking for anything outside of herself, and it's kind of like being able to recognize her ability to take action in the world and manifest her desires. So that could be since it's pentacles and it's material, it could be in terms of, material abundance, like career, money, the finer things in life. And that's coming up with the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords is all about being on a journey of kind of like your inner truth. And recognition of the power of your mind, like your mindset, your beliefs, and just how much of that is within your control. And when you are aware of your thoughts and your beliefs, your fears, and you kind of empower yourself to work through the false beliefs or the limiting beliefs that you have, that can really, really intensely transform the way that you move through the world. It's kind of coming to the realization that not necessarily everything that we think is true or is helpful, and that a lot of the times the beliefs and the things that seem to be real and solid are actually just ideas. And if they're just ideas, then why commit to them if they're not empowering us and taking us in a positive direction? So it's like being on a journey of being willing to believe that sometimes we have to take responsibility for the things that we don't like in our life, because we are actively choosing to believe, or it doesn't have to be actively. A lot of times it's subconscious. We subconsciously are consenting to believe things that are not true and that are keeping us limited and keeping us playing small. And that we have the power to, if we're going to be influenced by ideas, we might as well connect to ideas that are going to be aligned with us and what we want to create, and empowering and helping us to kind of become better rather than to play small. So this could have to do, and this is a kind of immature energy, right? Because it's just kind of getting to the stage on this journey where you're trying to apply this, you're trying to work through this. So you're going to be refining your process. You're going to be kind of unsure. You're going to be experiencing challenges and obstacles that you're going to have to overcome. So it can be kind of tumultuous, and it requires a lot of reflection, right? To kind of realize, what do you really think? What's really important to you? And that means like on a soul level, not just on a logical or rational level. And so you could very well have some ideas about abundance, material abundance, about your ability to operate independently, to be successful independently, to enjoy your abundance and success, and to trust in your ability to take action. So it's like to trust that you have the skills that you need, the knowledge, the awareness, the ability, and the work ethic that you need to take consistent steps to take that solid action in the material world to bring your dreams into reality and to manifest the abundance that you're looking to connect with. And that's something that you are able to be empowered to do on your own. You can receive support from other people, but you don't need other people to do it for you. So there could be some thoughts, and it might be like working through your mindset and still not being quite sure about what this means to you, what's going to be empowering to you. So I don't know how you might relate to that, like the sense of like being successful, being independent, being abundant, This is like the single lady kind of card. You don't have to be single, but it's like that like strong independent personality. So it might be like examining your thoughts and your beliefs about that. And is there anything in particular that is limiting to you? Is there anything that you think about your ability to do this that's actually holding you back or undercutting you, or perhaps preventing you from really connecting with the resources and support that you need, right? Like it's, I don't know, this is very complex. Like if I were to read this for anyone else, I don't think it would be this complex, but for you guys, it's very, it's kind of intense. And so to kind of work through this challenge, however that makes sense to you and however that might be showing up for you or being triggered for you this month, it could be seeing other people who are independent and successful. It could be being in situations where people are undermining you and your ability, and that's triggering that sense of inferiority within you. It could be like perhaps working in tandem with other people, and so not feeling entitled to enjoy and to celebrate the effort that you've put in and the fact that you worked just as hard and are just as deserving of that abundance. Or yeah, it's like there could be some troubling beliefs that are keeping you in a place that's really preventing you from stepping into this energy where you're like, yeah, like I'm a boss, I got this. And so in order to kind of work through and overcome this challenging energy, you're actually being asked, like the wheel, gosh, it's complicated, but you're being asked to kind of tune into yourself, right? To trust yourself, to connect with yourself, what feels right and wrong, right? It's about finding your inner balance. And a lot of times that inner balance has to do with your thoughts, your perceptions, and your beliefs, and your emotions, right? So it's like this energy, because so we could think about it as light and dark. So that could be like perceived positivity, hope, and like all the good things about us. And then negativity would be like pessimism and fear and anxiety and that kind of stuff, right? Or we can think about it as like your logical brain versus your emotional brain, or your head and your heart, or whatever the case may be. So it's like whatever is most polarizing for you when it comes to that, which I think very much has to do with this Queen of Swords energy. Think about that as this light and dark, right? It's like they're both a part of you. They're both valuable. They both serve their place and they deserve to be honored because they are not you. Your thoughts are not you and your emotions are not you. They're your experiences. This is how energy moves through you, right? This is how you experience the world around you. And so it's recognizing that this is information that's available to you to help you figure out what you're here to do and what is best for you. And the way that you honor that and the way that you can kind of make use of that is to let it flow, not to incorporate it as part of your personality and not to make it a part of you, but to recognize that this is just something that is being offered to you almost as insider perspective so that you can get a better idea of what you want. And so it's kind of like light and dark, thoughts and feelings, whatever the case may be, recognizing that you are the pillar, right? You are the one that's kind of in charge about how you're going to handle things, what your mindset's going to be like, what your attitude is going to be like. Mind you, it can be very difficult to work through and master challenging thoughts and challenging emotions and so on. But it's trusting that you have the ability to kind of be this pillar of stability and to keep your balance regardless of what is coming up for you, right? And it's like, it's up to you to sort through that noise and to figure out like, okay, what in here is, what in terms of my thoughts and what in terms of my feelings is like making me feel like shit, or it's making me play small, or it's inspiring fear, or it's making me feel disempowered, right? And what feels exciting, what feels inspiring, what feels like something that I might need more of, what, you know, kind of ignites my creativity or my passion or my joy. What brings me happiness, right? And it's sorting through all of that stuff and figuring out what that means for you and what decision that you need to make in order to move forward. right? And this is a very, like, I haven't read this card quite this way before. So this is kind of interesting for me too. And it's recognizing that when you're able to stay in balance, it's a lot easier to kind of roll the dice and let fate or destiny kind of start to unfold for you, right? Because this is the wheel, and it's recognizing that you spin that wheel of fortune and you don't know what you're going to get and where you're going to land. But if you are keeping your stuff in balance and you're focused on what's important to you, and you trust not only that you're going to be able to keep your balance regardless of where that wheel lands and regardless of what door kind of opens up for you, but also that by being in that place and spinning the wheel, it gives you the opportunity to connect with things that are aligned with that energy and aligned with that vision that you have for yourself. And so it's recognizing that, like, you can have opportunities to connect with your destiny and the things that are going to be most fulfilling to you. But if you allow your thoughts or your emotions or your light or your dark to get the best of you and to throw you off, you can very easily overlook those opportunities. You can say no to those opportunities. You can hijack or self-sabotage in the midst of trying to pursue that. So it's kind of like we have to stay in balance, and we have to trust that things are going as they will, and that we have the power to handle whatever comes our way in order to allow that wheel of fortune, that wheel of fate and destiny to keep spinning, and to trust that what comes up for us is going to offer us an opportunity to kind of move in the direction. So whatever you're focused on, that's where those opportunities are taking you. And the more that you can kind of connect to yourself and know what's right for you and be in your authenticity and keep your balance, the more you're going to be able to move through those important situations and move through those important cycles and get exactly what it is that you're meant to help you move toward that vision. So whatever you're thinking about and focusing on, that's what you're creating, and that is what is inspiring the things that are coming into your life. And so it's kind of like being open to opportunity, right? Because you can ask for an opportunity and have an idea of what you want that to look like, and then reject major opportunities that could very well align you with exactly what you want, because you think, well, that's not what I wanted, right? So it's recognizing that fate and destiny are intertwined in our lives, and they show up and sometimes in the most unassuming or unexpected ways. And so we kind of have to be willing to take that chance on ourselves and trust that we can keep ourselves in balance, and it's not up to our life circumstances to be stable or balanced, if that makes sense. And then for that to come up with the Ace of Wands, that's connected to your passion and your joy and your creativity. And the Ace means there's a new opportunity. So there could be a new spark. There could be, a new opportunity, a new job, a new connection, a new idea, perhaps just a newfound connection to the things that make you feel inspired, that make you excited, that give you that kind of enthusiasm for life and kind of make you want to, like, get out of bed in the morning. So it could be that finding your balance, honoring the parts of yourself, like light and dark, taking in all that information that's available to you, and really connecting with who you are and what you want, and trusting yourself to sort through and keep your balance so that you can kind of stay focused on your true north. That means even if all this stuff is flowing through you, and even if this wheel is spinning underneath you, you can maintain your balance, and that act and allowing things to start falling into place for you might very well open up the door for a new opportunity to really, really participate in something that's going to feel exciting, something that's going to feel meaningful, and something that's going to be aligned and fulfilling to you, even perhaps on a creative level. This is a card of creativity and inspiration, but it could just be like, in terms of something that you really enjoy, right? So I think that's really positive, Libra. And the other thing that's interesting is that we have a 10 and a 1 side by side. And so 10, the wheel, is all about ending. So it's kind of like, if we want to connect with our destiny and new opportunity, then we also have to be willing to close the door on anything that's going to interfere with our opportunity to step into the new. So close out those old cycles, learn and integrate those lessons, master those skills, so that when to get balanced, right? And to trust ourselves a little bit more deeply, to know ourselves more deeply. So whatever you're going through that needs to be tied up, it could very well have to do with your own personal development, and maybe coming to learn and accept yourself more deeply, and your light and dark, because you are all about balance and harmony. So maybe coming to like an inner harmony in terms of who you are and what's important to you, and closing out these cycles will allow you to kind of just get to a more balanced place, so that this wheel of fate and destiny can start spinning for you, and that new beginning can be something that is going to be meaningful to you, and potentially even have this is also kind of entrepreneurial, if that is something that you're connected with. But yeah, just having more enthusiasm and passion in your day-to-day life, or being able to have that more ingrained in your experiences, because it's not showing up anywhere else except for your way through. So I think that's really positive. Your first affirmation: I speak with confidence because the world needs my light. Confidence very much associated with the Wands energy. And it's like we have to have that kind of fire of passion and enthusiasm for ourselves and our truth in order to be willing to confidently like share that with people too. The Queen of Swords also is somebody who speaks with confidence as well. And it's trusting that you've got something valuable to share, but you're not going to connect with and know the value that you have to share if you're trying to box yourself in to a really rational, logical way of existing. The only way you're going to know what that is that you have to offer is if you really, truly get to a point of getting to know yourself and accepting and honoring yourself as you are, and kind of releasing the pressure that you put on yourself to kind of to be a certain way or to be put together all the time. And your next, when I shine bright, I give permission. I give others permission to shine with me. Yeah, so it's like, it's not just about you, right? But that's what this Ace of Wands card is about too. So it's like shining your own light, and that light lights your path. It lights your life up. It gives you more joy, right? But also it's kind of a beacon for other people. That light inevitably will light up the world of the people around you, and may even serve as an example. Like, well, if this person can do it, and if this person can shine bright and enjoy their life, like, why can't I as well, right? So it's kind of like, it's not even just about you, right? It's about you and the people around you, and you have the ability to positively impact a lot of people when you connect to that authenticity and that creativity, and you just allow yourself to move through the world in that manner, and not be like trying to doctor your not appearance. What's the word I'm looking for? Not trying to doctor your image, or come across in a way that you feel is going to be most acceptable to most people. It's kind of like, people don't want what everybody thinks is acceptable. People want the real you. Not that you're fake. I'm not saying that at all. It's just, you might have fears about really expressing yourself authentically, or really becoming vulnerable, or really allowing that light that you've got inside to shine in the unique way that only you can, right? And the card that's come up for you, your final oracle, is wait. So it says, it's not time yet, things are being woven. And you know what? That's also very interesting, because you don't have any real cards of movement here, even just looking, right? So she's sitting and facing forward, so it looks like she's almost contemplative. She's balanced with her eyes closed, and she's just trying to kind of focus on what's here right now. She's kind of in the same position, balanced on top of this. And then she's looking toward the future. She's kind of looking down. So it's kind of like, you might be thinking about the future. You might be making plans. You might be focused on the present. You might just be trying to keep it all together, but there's no actual movement. They're all like sitting or balancing, right? So that actually kind of makes sense. Like, it's maybe not a time to take action, but a time of reflection to gain a deeper level of awareness. So I'm just going to read from the book. So it says, wait. In our fast, loud, reactive, comparative world, where an instant response is so often expected and at times even a currency, it can feel almost impossible to take a breath, let alone give ourselves the space to rest, wait, and reset. We're so often in overdrive, expecting instantaneous results over and over again, and when guidance doesn't come at these extreme speeds, it can feel as though something's gone wrong. But often, not receiving guidance is guidance itself. When you ask for guidance and don't receive it, it can often mean wait. It's not time yet. The details are being woven. Our challenge is to keep trusting when on the surface it appears that nothing is happening. That's also the challenge with this Wheel of Fortune, is that you're not moving anywhere, but things are happening, things are falling into place. And you have to wait and to be patient to see how things are going to unfold and to keep the positive and negative in balance, even when you don't know and it's not apparent just how things are falling into place for you. So to remember that no matter how long or bitter the winter, spring does always come. To remember that you don't need to solve all of the world's problems in a single day, and that perhaps they'll be better solved with some perspective and a good night's sleep. This card is your permission to slip, to slow down, switch off, and rest. You're being reminded to have patience and to trust the mystery of life, to trust that things are being woven on your behalf. It may not be happening to the timeline you'd like, but if you gather up the patience, it will be orchestrated better than you can ever imagine. And then the inquiry that goes along with it says, how can you slow down, be more patient, and wait? So Libra, this seems to be a very introspective month, which might be exactly why you're being asked to kind of tie up these loose ends, because if things are not necessarily moving forward and you're not progressing, it's kind of giving you the opportunity it's setting the stage for forward movement. And so it's a good time to tie up anything that's cluttering you and to kind of like get that stuff off your plate so that when the time to move comes, you are going to be rested and refreshed, and you're going to have more space and more time and more energy to kind of jump into something new, because something new experiences, new situations, they always require more time and more energy. And there's always like a little bit of discomfort. So the best thing that we can do is just set ourselves up for success. So if nothing major is happening, then you might as well use this time to kind of get to know yourself better and to get some of those pesky kind of unfinished items off your list, so that it's not going to make your life more difficult when you're excited to kind of have things move forward and to start focusing on different things. So I think that's a great message for you, Libra. I'm going to leave your reading here. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube or leave a comment. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that might enjoy my readings, you can feel free to share my content with them. And make sure you hop over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Check out my other videos, and not only ensure that you're subscribed to my channel, but sign up for notifications, so that'll keep you up to date on new videos as they're posted. So Libra, it's been an absolute pleasure to read for you. I hope July is everything that you hope that it will be. I hope it's good to you. It's been a pleasure to read for you, and I'm very much looking forward to reading for you again in August. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.